A lot of people quite often ask me that how exactly Scrum is being processed or what kind of activities do we have within Scrum. And a lot of people even certainly ask me that question, that how exactly Agile is related to Scrum. Is that Scrum is itself Agile, or Agile is actually called as Scrum as well? So a lot of people even in fact have a misunderstanding that Scrum and Agile are slightly different, but of course has a relationship between them. So sometimes people think that is that I can just call Agile as Scrum, or is there a difference about the same? Well, that's what we will be talking about in this particular video. Thought of taking up today to talk about Scrum and create that relationships and remove those misunderstandings between the terms like Agile and Scrum. So let's explore more about the Scrum today. Hello friends and greetings for the day. Welcome back to another episode of Testing in Nutshell. This is Neeraj Kumar Singh, and today we are talking about another episode where we are discussing on Scrum. But before we talk about the Scrum, let's understand the parent, which is Agile, where everything comes from. So Agile basically is one of the methodologies, or could be considered as one of the methods to be followed as the software development lifecycle model in order to create your project or work for a particular product development, and definitely has a lot of unique characteristics which generally was considered to be drawbacks as a part of your traditional models like waterfall and V model. And all these approaches have been picked up in order to enhance the way you work and assist the customer and in fact meet the expectations at any point of time. So there are a lot of such drawbacks which we had as a part of traditional approaches. We just clubbed them together and turned it around in order to turn it as a benefit, and we call it as Agile methodology. Now, when it comes to Agile methodology, of course, there are different approaches to be followed within Agile. We have extreme programming, we have Scrum, we have a Kanban, we have crystal clear. There are a lot of things which you can generally follow, and there's a big list of that. Because a lot of organizations, specific to their product type, specific to the characteristics of the product or the type of development they get involved with, will have certainly some kind of differences. Not everything can be very rigid, as Agile provides some of the characteristics. So of course you have your own way of, that's the one of the characteristics of Agile, that you have the convenience of customizing the methodology in order to meet your expectation. And that's where different approaches are created. And one of that approach is called as Scrum. Now, what exactly Scrum is and what it consists of and how exactly it is unique compared to the other approaches. Now, Scrum is another approach of developing your product with a particular systematic process, and which makes use of short iterations or short sprints to develop various tasks within a particular product. Now, of course, lots of things have been taken from Agile itself. That is the base fundamental. For example, converting your requirements into epic to user stories, and user stories will be further broken down into simpler tasks to process them. Now, of course, each task will be put into the sprint backlog, where a sprint backlog is a backlog which contains the list of tasks which you are going to cover or process in a particular sprint. But of course, there's something also called as product backlog, where all the user stories and the various tasks which you have broken them down into will be lying up. You just pick certain set of tasks which you are going to process in a particular sprint. You will be putting that onto the sprint backlog and start with your sprint. Of course, Scrum has certain events as well, which were earlier called as the ceremonies. And of course, these events are different activities which you perform throughout the sprint, probably before that, and even some things after that. For example, the very first thing is sprint planning, where you generally plan out that what activities you will be performing throughout your sprint, what kind of iterations you are having, what duration it is, what kind of task environment will be required, what kind of test cases you will be getting into, because it just determines that whether you are going to follow some formal techniques to derive your test cases, or you're going to follow more of the experience-based technique like exploratory. Now, all these things will be determined during the sprint planning, and you follow that plan strictly in order to meet the expectations. At the end of the particular sprint, you are actually trying to deliver what you promised to the customer. So at the end of the sprint, whatever you have completed, you hand it over to the customer and showcase to them through a demonstration. You demonstrate that what exactly you have done and how exactly is going to meet their product expectations, and how this piece of work, what we have done today, will be further integrated to the remaining work. Now, another event which generally happens as a part of Scrum is these daily calls, okay, which was earlier called as the daily stand-up meetings or daily interfaces. Now here, each one will definitely showcase. Now, each one from the development team. A Scrum basically comprises of 3 people or 3 major roles. One is the product owner, who has the complete understanding of what exactly the product is all about. And the second person is Scrum Master, who is just like a person who controls or assists the development team. And the third is, of course, the team, where team consists of developers, architects, and testers put together are referred to as team. Now, these members will report to the Scrum Master with their daily activities. In fact, there were some questions earlier in the previous standards of Scrum that you basically answer 3 questions during the Scrum calls. That is, what you have done yesterday, what is that you're planning to do today, and are there any kind of challenges. But now things have been slightly improvised, and now we don't call them as answering these questions. Rather, we just update how we are progressing with our activities within these sprints. And this will be very short iteration. For example, we just do it for 10 to 15 minutes within a particular day, and probably expect it to happen much earlier in the day, like the moment you start your day, so that you can at least let someone know that you are having some challenges and he can or she can come back to you with solutions on those challenges. So yeah, we call them as daily calls as a part of your Scrum interface. Plus, there is something called as retrospective, which happens at the end of the sprint, and it generally helps you to assist you with the collecting all the information what you gained throughout the particular sprint, and of course all the lessons what you learned. Could have done a lot of mistakes, and you try to gather them in order to understand that why you went wrong and how you could have minimized it or how you could have prevented it to happen. So we generally gather all these things as a part of retrospective. In fact, we collect or gather the reports which justifies that these are the tasks which are completed, and it is accepted by the customer based on the acceptance criteria. There are a lot of such minute things which we'll be talking here and there, but this is what Scrum is in a nutshell. That Scrum is an approach to develop your project within Agile methodology. Okay, so that's all from this particular episode, team. Should you have anything else, feel free to comment below. I'm always there to answer your questions and respond to them well. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep understanding the context. Thanks for watching the video, team, and happy learning.